Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the investor presentation update from with Cymat Advanced Materials. Mr. Michael Liik, Chairman and CEO, is going to provide an update to everybody today. Before we get started, just a couple things. One, the webinar is being recorded, and we will obviously put it up, edit and put it up for replay. We'll send everybody a link. So if you want to listen to it again, or some people you know couldn't make it, we'll make sure that you do get the link. So that's good. And two, Jen, you can put the disclaimer up, please. If everyone can just take a minute quickly and just read the forward-looking statement disclaimer. All right, thank you very much. Again, welcome everybody today. Michael, thank you very much for taking the time to get out to everybody, update us. Wish you, Michael, a Happy New Year, and everybody on the phone a Happy New Year. I think one of the things that's very exciting lately is the recent release. I'm sure everybody saw. That sparked obviously a lot of activity in the stock as well. We started to see the stock moving up a little bit, which is nice. I think we all look forward to hopefully seeing better prices. And I know no one's really here to listen to me, so on that happy note, again, Happy New Year to everybody, and thank you again, Michael, for attending today. I'm going to mute myself, take myself off screen, and Michael will update everybody on what's happening. And again, if you have any questions, put them in the chat room, or just send us an email to info@investor3.ca, and we'll answer your questions at the end of the presentation. An update from Mr. Liik. I'll hand it over to you, Michael, and again, thank you.
Well, thank you, Neil, and Happy New Year from me as well, and the team at Cymat to everybody, and thanks for taking the time this afternoon. I am trying to do these webinars on a quarterly basis to keep our investors informed as best we can. And as Neil mentioned, we were also pleasantly surprised with the reaction that the market had with the announcement we put out. And I must say that we are seeing more activity in automotive currently than we have probably in the very, very early days of Cymat, when we were focused just on automotive. So that is very, very satisfying to us, because we put a lot into it, both from a technology, design, and effort basis over the last number of years, and it looks like it is starting to bear fruit. As usual, what I'll do is I'll talk a little bit about revenue, and then I'll go through our verticals, each, and sort of what the highlights are there and what to expect, what we're working on, what have you. And then I will, at the end, talk a little bit about some strategic initiatives that we have undertaken over the last number of months that could have a very material impact on our business. So getting right into revenue, I'll start with Q2. We put out Q2 the end of the year. It was affected very dramatically by some revenue recognition issues that we were dealing with. We had shipped the first phase of a very large nuclear order, a $2.7 million nuclear order that we received. The first phase was under $1 million, and it was shipped, but because of the terms of shipment, we couldn't recognize that until it reached their port. And we were expecting it to reach the port, but there were some delays in shipping when it left our dock. So obviously that will be picked up in Q3. And we have a number of orders in Illusion that we satisfied before Christmas, and a number that we anticipate getting out before quarter end. So Q3 should be quite robust for us. Q4 very much depends on the timing of some of these contracts. As you know, we have a contract in military that we're working on. That's a 3-year contract that the value is between $4 and $5 million. We are expecting sort of the next order imminently. For that, we're not quite sure what the quantum is, and then the timing of the next phase of the nuclear order. And of course, we have a number of large Illusion orders that we cannot predict as precisely as we'd like to figure out whether they're going to fall into Q4. So that pretty much sums up our year. We still are expecting a record year from a revenue standpoint, and are hopeful that we get a little bit of luck and these contracts land at the appropriate time. So moving to our verticals, as you know, our business is split up into Illusion, which is our architectural product, and Smart Metal, which is our engineering product. I'll start with Illusion. As I mentioned the last quarter, the market has improved dramatically in Illusion, and we believe it's driven by a lower, more stable interest rate environment and stabilization and even reduction in construction costs in the major markets that we're in. And what all that means is that quoting activity has improved dramatically over last year. And our pipeline into calendar 25 is still very robust, in excess of $10 million. A number of large projects are in that, not exceedingly large, but that we are quite advanced with, that we expect to drop in the calendar 25. And also what we've seen is an uptick in very large projects that there's interest in our material for. One is in Europe that is upwards of 25,000 square meters, which would make it the largest project we've ever done. And we are in advanced discussions with the owner and the architect there, and are very hopeful. That is probably end of 25 calendar year timing. And then the largest project we've seen to date is in the Middle East, and that is 150,000 square meters. That's a lot of foam. And it's a different application. It's a more internal acoustic application, not a cladding application, which again is great from a diversification standpoint. So I remain reasonably confident and optimistic about Illusion and the revenue stream going forward. It's certainly turned around from what we saw the last 2 years when the construction market was in a pretty serious state. So we're happy about that. Moving on to Smart Metal. That breaks down into nuclear, military, and automotive for us. I'll start with nuclear. As you know, we have a partnership with Nuvia, which is one of the largest civil works nuclear contractors, certainly in France, if not the world. And they've developed a new product that uses our material, and it's for external threat protection for sensitive nuclear facilities. That's something that's required in every new and refurbished nuclear facility in France, and I believe the rest of the world is moving in that direction as well. We received our first order from them, which was headline was 2.7 million. We shipped the first phase of that, and as I mentioned before, we are expecting the second phase in certainly calendar 2025, hopefully sooner rather than later. They're already under construction with the first phase. The good news is that, as we've talked about before, we expect this to be a very long and fruitful relationship with more predictable revenues. We are now quoting a second project that they've been awarded. We're actually quoting it as we speak, and it appears to be about the same sort of magnitude, give or take, as the last one. And hopefully that comes quickly on the heels of the last project. So nuclear is doing what we had hoped, which is becoming a much more predictable revenue driver for us. And, we expect this to last upwards of 10 years, as we've discussed with our nuclear partner. Moving on to military, we did ship the first tranche of kits under serial production for the Asian military vehicle producer that we have this arrangement with. We do expect to enter into a long-term contract, even though we are delivering under that contract already. We're just finalizing the T's and C's for that contract. But as I mentioned earlier, that is for 350 vehicles, and its value is somewhere between $4 and $5 million to be delivered over 3 years. And we do expect that to ramp up in calendar 2025, and certainly considerably more in calendar 2026. Moving on to auto, as I said, we are seeing more activity in automotive than we've seen in a long time. I'll start with what we announced recently. Some of you, I think, might have been perplexed as to why it was announced so late, given that we've been working on it for some time. As you probably know, when you're dealing with very large companies, it seems to take forever to get contracts sort of settled, negotiated, and put out. So anyways, we've been working in earnest with them for upwards of a year already, and are quite advanced with that project. As if you didn't read the press release, what this is it's based on a component that we developed for another electric vehicle manufacturer about a year and a half ago. And it's a component that protects the underside of the electric vehicle battery. We fully designed, developed it, then lab tested prototypes, and it was proven to be 40% lighter than the incumbent steel solution, 15% cheaper, and of course, it absorbs energy versus transferring energy from a crash event. So that drew the attention of this Japanese trading company and also automotive manufacturer. And that was the premise of the partnership. And we're doing a couple things with that part. We are making it more robust because of the impact requirements that the particular Japanese OEM that we're targeting this part for has. But more interestingly, it's a multifunctional part. So we're adding a functionality into this part that is not impact resistance. I can't talk about it, unfortunately, because we are in the process of filing patents for this particular novel application. But suffice it to say that it is going to have, we believe, very broad appeal in the electric vehicle industry because of its multifunctionality and cost and weight and all the usual things that our material sort of offers to these solutions. To expedite the process, we've already done prototyping on the new functionality and what have you. The aspects of the prototyping are being evaluated in Europe currently, and we expect next week to have results from testing of the physical prototypes. And then the impact testing to, as I said earlier, to expedite the process. We've commissioned a rig for our own plant, something called a drop tower, so that we can accelerate the sort of impact testing of this component without the usual process of the simulation testing we do and the very expensive simulation runs we have to do to optimize it. And then after that, do prototype testing to validate it. So we're trying to skip that part of it and advance the program quicker by doing the physical testing based on design parameters that we have and we already have comfort with in terms of performance of this component. So stay tuned on that. We are in discussions with a major tier 1 Japanese manufacturer who would assemble the component. We would, of course, provide the foam for it. They would be the person who accepts our foam, puts it into the component, and then delivers it to the Japanese OEM. And yes, the timeline for that is unfortunately dependent on when the application, or sort of when the patents are granted for that. Our partner is not prepared to move ahead until patents are settled for this particular component. So I don't have a good answer to what the timeline will be. We're hoping that it's a couple of months to have the patents. And as I said, we are running in parallel all of the work for the components, so that we hope that as soon as the patents are settled and issued, then we present to the Japanese OEM. We also are in discussions with a major Japanese auto parts supplier on another strategic initiative that sort of harkens back to the reason I got into this technology back in the 2000s in the first place. I can't talk about it too much, but it is moving quickly, and it's a very, very different application from what we have looked at in automotive and worked on previously. So stay tuned for that. We're quite excited about that, and we think it's got an accelerated timeline to it. Moving on to other automotive initiatives, we had our technology day at our legacy North American OEM that we've been working with for about 3 years now. That happened last Friday. And the purpose of that was basically to present our findings on the component that we developed for the other electric vehicle manufacturer. We own the rights to that because we paid for all that. So we are not inhibited as to how we use the design and the concepts. So that was presented to a very broad group at the OEM, our legacy OEM. On Friday, there was considerable interest. It was presented to a number of groups within that OEM. We traditionally have worked with their advanced engineering group for these sorts of technologies. This was, a number of current body sort of groups and battery groups and what have you within the OEM. And as I said, we got a good reaction from them and good response. We are hoping that this will lead in relatively short order to a development program on a platform with them that would utilize the technology. We also plan to take that presentation that we worked with very closely with the advanced engineering guys in this legacy OEM to sort of perfect it. We're going to now take that presentation and take it to 5 other OEMs, global OEMs, automotive OEMs, and we hope to get traction on that as well. So as I said, automotive is moving very nicely for us. We're very pleased with everything that's happening in automotive. Oh yeah, there's one other thing. We are working with another group on 3 new components to us. They're components that we've looked at previously, but they are somewhat different from the traditional automotive components that we've worked on, and hopefully we can announce something on those in very short order. That's 3 new components. Now I'll move on to some strategic initiatives. We've been working since the summer on some. Essentially, it's the purpose of it is to drive costs out of our product. So it's looking at our process and figuring out how to streamline the process, looking at input materials and seeing if we can use cheaper input materials, different input materials to get the same result, and also doing a bunch of R&D on the foam itself to figure out where we can cut costs and still get the similar performance. And this is being driven by a couple of very high volume opportunities that have presented themselves, and they require a less expensive product to get into it. And we think we can meet the target based on the work we've done today. And that would open up the material to different markets that are very, very high volume markets that would be appealing to us. Still, decent margin, but much higher volume than the verticals that we're in today. The other thing that we're working on is we'd be presented with an opportunity to bring on a new product that's very similar to ours, and its process would sit in our plant, but it would have the benefit of bringing a substantial new revenue stream into our operation and diversifying our end customer base. And we've been in discussions on this opportunity for probably 6 months now, and it is coming to a head. We hope that it will be successful. It should and could change sort of the profile of our business quite dramatically if we are successful in bringing on this product line. But again, that's one of those stay tuned opportunities. So that's all I had planned to speak about today. And with that, I will open it up to questions from shareholders or the broader audience.
All right. Well, Michael, thank you very much for the update. That was quite a good update. Not many questions. I'll start with, there's a couple here. One, I guess pertains to the previous, most recent press release. You talked that the joint venture prototype testing by the OEM is ongoing, and would like to know when, is there an estimated timeline as to when that would be completed?
So sorry, you broke up there. Do you mind?
The testing on the Japanese thing, the physical testing, the prototype testing, when do you think that'll be finished?
Well, we expect to get on the other functionality of the part, and as I said, I can't really speak about it because of the patent issue. But we expect that testing to be done, or preliminary results, next week, and that's being done in Europe. Don't know whether we're going to have to do additional testing to satisfy our Japanese company. But we're hopeful that the first round of testing will validate that element of the functionality of the part. Before Christmas, we commissioned a drop tower for our plant to do the impact testing, the physical impact testing. We expect to have that piece of equipment in our plant in the next couple of weeks, and at that point, we will kick off the physical testing. So I would say that best case scenario would be middle of February that we have all of the testing done and the work that we need to do, to satisfy our partner, our Japanese partner. And then once the patent issue is resolved, then we would go to present this to the Japanese OEM, who has expressed interest in this part, as I said in the press release.
Okay, thank you very much. There's one part to this, but I'll go to another question. Any update on non-lethal bullets?
That's an excellent question. As you know, we shipped our second tranche of bullets that was destined for the French military. We are expecting ongoing orders from that. Unfortunately, we don't have visibility on when the next order is coming, and our partner shares our frustration. That's Nobel Sport in Paris, who is actually the manufacturer of the bullets. But as you recall, we started this work in 2019 and shipped bullets, and then they went quiet on us, and then out of the blue they said, okay, well, we're ready to start receiving bullets. So we do expect that to be a product line for us, but unfortunately it's very opaque dealing with the French military.
So it's really just like they'll just ship a PO.
A PO will arrive, and
Okay.
it's unfortunate, but it's the reality of
yeah.
that particular vertical for us.
Right. Okay. Another question is, based on your revenue forecast, do you expect this year to be positive EBITDA?
Yeah, I touched on this when I was talking about revenue. We are going to have a record year for sure. Whether we get to positive EBITDA is highly dependent on two things. One is the timing of the second phase of the nuclear order, and then the timing and quantum of the military orders. So we are expecting the next order imminently. We don't have a really good idea as to what the size of that will be. We do know that it is ramping up, and so as I said, and of course, the wild card is always the timing of our illusion projects. So unfortunately, I can't give our shareholders any better guidance than that. The good news is that we know this stuff is coming because it's contractual, but it's very difficult to pinpoint which quarter it's going to fall into.
Gotcha. What's the market opportunity for smart metal within the nuclear industry? What do you feel you could see in annual revenues? How are you marketing the product? Would that be through a partner or directly? So let's maybe just back that up. How big do you see that annual basis? How big do you think that could be? Just on a, obviously can't give guidance, just on a ballpark. What do you think
Yeah,
nuclear
I
could
mean,
do? I mean,
I
you've done
think
almost 3 million already. Like in the last,
I think it could be as
6
much as
months.
$50 million in France. The opportunity for us, based on the number of nuclear reactors that are undergoing life extension programs, and all of those now require this external protection that our product offers. What we found out before Christmas when Nuvia was here auditing that first order was that in France now, existing plants also are going to have to deal with external threats. We don't know what the timeline of that is, but given the number of reactors that there are in France, that makes it a much larger opportunity. And we're looking at Italy, we're looking at the Netherlands, we're looking at programs in the Nordic countries. And of course, we're leading the charge here in Ontario with Ontario Power Generation. So the marketing is going to be done in Europe by Nuvia. They're obviously much better equipped to do that, given their size and the scope of their operations in nuclear. We are going to lead the initiatives here in Ontario with their assistance. They do have an office in Ontario that services Ontario Power Generation, but we're leading that effort.
Gotcha.
So again, all that to say that we think it's a very significant opportunity. We've been working on it for a long time, and it is starting to bear fruit on what we think is going to be a much more predictable revenue stream coming out of that.
Yeah. Predictable revenue streams are always good. So
we've been looking for predictability in our business for a long time.
I know. Another question is, any update on military panels?
Yes. So our partner, who we've been working with for a long time now for the multi-threat panels, now has the certifications that it requires to advance, and it also has sorted out domestic sourcing of a key ingredient that is in that, and that is pivotal and a requirement with the U.S. military and a lot of U.S. customers. So that's being sorted out. We are just arranging or dotting the I's, crossing the T's on a contract with our partner, and we expect to start delivering imminently on the first order for that.
Fantastic. Thank you. Quite a few questions have come in, so let me just... Can you elaborate on the vertical that you can use that's a less expensive product with higher volumes?
Yeah, we're targeting a couple of things. One is to be a substrate in... I can't talk about the product, but it's basically a substrate that would replace a non-environmental substrate in a very, very high volume product. So we've had discussions with this particular customer over many, many years, and we've never been able to sort of hit a cost target for them. We believe we've made enough advances over the last period that now it looks achievable. So we plan to go back to them, and if successful, like it is an opportunity that, parallels automotive for us. So we're keeping our fingers crossed on that.
Okay, thank you. I'm just making sure I'm not missing questions. I'm not quite sure about this one, but I'll ask it. What happened to the initial Asian vehicle? I'm not quite sure if I understand the question.
Is that a military vehicle or?
I don't know. I'm if the person who did it, I'll just use their initial. Well, they know who it is. Are you referring to the military vehicle, like the underbellies? So I'm going to leave that now. Maybe you can and just clarify, because that's kind of, I guess, the only real Asian vehicle that until this recent Japanese thing we've been working on. Um, oh, she did. Thank you, EG. The one you made the prototype for battery use. Oh, that would be the cooling, I think. You released that, right? The other Far East order on. I think it's
Yeah.
battery box related, right?
Well, we worked a number of years ago with an Asian OEM. This was pre-COVID. We were in advanced discussions with them on a battery box application. What ended up happening there is that they were looking for taking weight out of a battery box that, and this is a vehicle that now has been launched. And what happened was, because the automotive industry during COVID essentially shut down, they made the decision not to modify the battery box and to go with the incumbent technology, just because of some staffing issues and what have you. The good news is that, it really kicked off our work on battery boxes. And, we learned a lot about what the performance metrics were going to be for it. We're not, they are on the list of OEMs that we are presenting to the new battery box concept that, we presented to our legacy OEM customer last Friday. That's about all I can say about that, unfortunately.
All right. Do you have enough capital today, or do you need to raise?
Well, it depends on a number of things. Depends on order flow, and it depends on. We are looking at debt financing for a number of things to fund this particular opportunity that I talked about, a strategic opportunity, and to clean up our balance sheet. So we have proposals out to a number of financial institutions. So we are hoping that combination of our internal cash flow and debt financing would be sufficient. Don't know, but that is the plan.
Okay, thank you, Michael. What happened? I'm assuming that's what happened to the military impact panels.
Well, I addressed that earlier. Those are the
That's the same thing.
multi-threat. Yeah, that's the multi-threat panel opportunity. They are now in a position to go. They have their certifications and they have their sourcing issues dealt with. And as I said, we are in the process of entering into a contract on that and then start delivering this year.
Okay. This is a good question. Where are you focusing most of your efforts today? Nuclear, military architecture. What are returning the best margins for you? So I guess what's the biggest focus? What sector are you focusing on? Vertical, you're focusing on the most, and what makes you the most money, basically? What's your highest margin? And do you have enough staff to deliver on these multiple opportunities?
Well, that's a loaded question. I guess I would answer it by saying that our highest margin product is still Illusion. It's a premier product. It's a brand. It's been around for a long time. We have added staff. We added a new biz development person recently who is working out very well for us in that initiative. Initially, it was brought on to focus on the U.S. we, like everybody else, are sitting on the edge of our seat as to whether Canada is going to get these tariffs, which would make it unattractive to ship into the US. So he has been repurposed to other jurisdictions for the time being until we understand sort of what's happening with the US market. In terms of, we don't really have to do a lot from a business development perspective on nuclear. The heavy lifting is being done by our partner, and that is our business model on these verticals, to bring in, partners that have the resources and the Rolodex to get to the end users. So our plan has always been to find those partners that bring value to us, but more importantly, have the contacts with the industry, so that we don't have to build up business development resources in those verticals. So military and nuclear fall into that. Automotive, as you probably all know, we staffed up significantly a number of years ago to address the market. We'd largely been out of the automotive market for some time, and we're just reacting to opportunities. We did staff up, so I'd have to say that our technical resources, design resources, business development resources are largely focused on automotive, because at the end of the day, the automotive opportunities sort of dwarfs anything else that we're looking at, save for what I talked about earlier, this high volume opportunity. But it requires a lot of resources. We're playing with very large companies. So far, I'm not pleased with how long it's taken, but I am pleased with the types of partners that we've been able to bring in recently to help with, business development and to be those intermediaries between OEMs. We're a small company, so we need to be able to demonstrate that if we get a part, then we're able to deliver the part, and that we have deep-pocketed partners beside us helping deliver that part. And so that's all part of the strategy. So sorry, that's a sort of a long-winded answer to that question, but hopefully that addresses your question.
All right, and then I'm going to interpret this question a little bit, because I think it's the wrong region, but you had obviously completed testing on a product. Obviously, you did the simulation design, the physical testing, past that. We're looking to receive or hopefully getting an order on that. That's kind of the first fully completed product. And then we haven't heard much of an update on that. I just to relate to the question, the person says it's an Asian vehicle. I know it's not an Asian vehicle, but I believe that relates to that update on kind of what's happened, that fully tested product that you're anticipating getting an order for.
Yeah, so just to back up a bit, this was developed specifically for a vehicle. It's a new EV company. They have launched their beta vehicle. We were not on the beta vehicle. The beta vehicle is a non-highway vehicle, and we were brought in to modify the base plate of their battery protection to satisfy their requirements for highway vehicle impacts. So we designed that. They are behind on launching their production vehicle. We believe that they will be launching their production vehicle in calendar 2026. We don't have really good visibility beyond that. We do know that, as I mentioned earlier, it is a far superior product to what they're using currently. And most importantly, it's cheaper than what they're using currently. And that, believe it or not, in this, even in the EV market, is a key driver for any discussion with components. So we have every reason to believe that we are going to get that production order. It's just, we don't have it yet, and we don't have visibility beyond, their public pronouncements that they'll be launching the production version of this vehicle in 26.
So let's hurry up and wait.
Yeah, like a lot of, I mean, unfortunately, are in industry verticals that have very long sales cycles.
Okay.
The flip side of that is once you're in those
Right, you're in.
industries, you're in, and it's a great place to be. It's just getting there is the challenging part.
Next question is, what does insider ownership levels look like? Can we expect to see some insider buying, especially if there is a financing?
Yeah, so insider ownership hasn't changed for some time. I'm a significant holder of equity in this company, and we also other officers are significant owners of equity in the business. If we were to do an equity offering, I think there's a distinct possibility that there would have insider participation in the offering. As I said earlier, we're trying to get through with our own revenue generated by operations and with debt financing. So that
Right,
is our
which is
initial
not
plan.
dilutive.
Yes.
Okay. What's your break even? Basically, how much revenue per quarter do you need to generate to break even?
Yeah, that also is loaded because it depends on the SKUs that we're selling. But if it were just illusion, our break-even point is somewhere between $7 and $8 million of sales. That's cash flow break-even.
Gotcha.
And that's a pretty good proxy for sort of profitability for us.
All right. And then I believe this might be the last question. I'm going to actually make this the last question. If you do have other questions, you can send them to me. Okay, there's actually one more after. I'm going to ask two more and I'm going to call it a day because I know everyone's busy. But if you do have other questions, guys, just let me know. Just email them to info@investor3 and I'll have Michael answer them. Or the weekend, we'll have Michael answer them. Last good couple ending questions, Michael. What keeps you up at night right now, besides your wife?
Well, fortunately, she's not within earshot.
Yeah, I was hoping that.
So I'll start with that. Even if she is within earshot, I'll start with that.
Okay.
Um, well, you know, my objective with the business has always been to get to profitability in the business outside of automotive, so that to drive the illusion business and these new verticals that we're in military and in nuclear, to the point where we have predictable cash flow, positive cash flow, and that finances our opportunities in automotive. So that's probably what keeps me up the most, to make sure that that particular objective is being met. We're certainly doing so much better this year than we have the last couple of years, when we had the market for illusion, the architectural product, fall out from under us because of the external environment. So yeah, so that is my principal concern and objective. Second is how to accelerate automotive to the point where we have visibility on production components. I think we're making some headway on that recently, particularly with what we announced and a couple of other things that we're working on. It's been a disappointment to us how long it's taken, for sure. Some of that is external, with some of the bloom being off the rose for electric vehicles, and that's caused the OEMs to pull in their horns a bit. But it's interesting. We are seeing more and more opportunities, and outside of the components that we traditionally have thought about and thought had the best utility for our product, and that holds real promise. So I am cautiously optimistic that automotive is on a faster track than if you'd asked me 6 months ago with automotive.
All right. Well, thank you for that. And then this will be the last question. I like the question, so I'm going to ask it. You've been at this business for many years and have seen many opportunities emerge. do you feel you are now at an inflection point?
That's an oft-used word, isn't it? An
Yes.
inflection point. I love using it because I think we truly are at an inflection point. And the reason for that is that we, for the last, I'd say 10 years, really, we relied on architectural revenue to pay the bills. And architectural revenue can be very lumpy. It's very profitable, but it can be very lumpy. We've moved towards more predictable revenue coming out of nuclear and military, and that's taken a long time for us. So um, that to me is what creates a true inflection point for us, the predictability of revenue going forward. We're not living sort of on hand to mouth, hoping that the next illusion project that we had scheduled for a quarter is going to come in or not. Now we have much more predictability going forward, and it's a growing market for us. And also, the margins in that business are very healthy for us. They're not quite illusion margins, but they're very significant margins. And that to me creates an inflection point for the business, a true inflection point. And as I said earlier, it gives us the opportunity to take that predictability in the cash flows and with more confidence invest in the automotive business, which is why I got into this technology in the first place, because I saw ample opportunities in automotive. Now, it's obviously been a much longer road than myself or anybody had expected, many bumps in that road, but I think we are at an inflection point.
Excellent.
And I'll end with that.
That's going to be my word of the day going forward, and my word of the month or quarter. So I love the word. Thank you again for those questions. Those are really good questions. And I'm going to wrap it up here on that note. As I mentioned previously, we'll any other questions, you reach out to myself. We'll have Michael answer them if we can't, or certainly make sure they are answered, sent to you in a timely manner. Two, this webinar has been recorded, so we will probably edit out the comment I made about Mr. Liik's wife, but sure that we'll get that up over the next day or so. And once it's done, we'll send you the link. So if you want to listen to it again, or other people couldn't make it, you can forward that link to them. And most importantly, I want to thank everybody for their support. It's been a long road, a tough road. It seems like, Michael, you've made a lot of progress, though. I think last 12 months have probably been the most exciting 12 months in the company's history. And I've been with Michael over 10 years, a shareholder for over 10 years. So it's nice to see that a lot of things are happening. I think on that last one, one thing I also think could be potentially good is, that was really great on the inflection point question, Michael, that seeing revenue coming from different, it was almost all illusion for so many years. It was illusion. And now seeing money comes in, even the bullet order, and you'll get more, but just seeing 3 or 4 or 5 different verticals starting to generate revenue, not only makes it to be more predictive, but really probably provides a bit of comfort that you're not dependent on, for example, interest rates go to 8%, that's going to screw illusion. We saw that get hurt with the recent rise in global interest rates, which are now starting to ease. But to be less dependent on any given sector, I think, is also provides a lot more excitement for the company, and a lot, more predictability, that you're generating revenue from several different areas now. And I think that's one of the key things I took away from what you accomplished in 2024, Michael.
Thank you. That, as I said, it has been our key objective.
Right. And so that seems to be starting to happen, which is really exciting. So on that note, again, thank you, everybody. Happy New Year to everybody. We'll send you the link on the recording. And Mr. Liik, of course, thank you very much. As Michael did mention, lastly, Michael we will to set up quarterly conference calls. And again, as you know, if you want to speak to Michael at a given point, we're happy to set up a particular one-on-one. Should you want to have a more intimate, so to speak, call with Michael about business, of course. And on that note, I'll thank everybody, and we'll end the webinar now. You guys, everyone have a great night, great day, great week. And thank you, Michael.
Thank you.